the foundation of Scientology has been built on such a problematic lie. Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 4 of us doing 22 days of the Book of Revelations, Scientology, and the Quran. But in this video, we're going to be discussing Scientology. And before I get into the topic of today, I just want to say something here, guys. I am the type of person who likes to go straight to the meat of things, and then I work my way backwards because I'm trying to get to the core. And as we go once we get to the core of this, we're going to blow up out into how it is in existence in our world today. So right now, I'm very much in the phase of really getting to the grips of the core elements of Scientology. What is the root? What is in the middle? Not just what do we see, not just what do we hear about the celebrities and stuff, which we're going to talk a lot about that, by the way, because as Paula mentioned, shout out to Paula, I can't remember the name I can never remember that woman's name. Something, Leah Remini. I need to watch that, by the way. Paula, I haven't even responded to your comment yet. I need to watch that. I'm going to watch it. If it was in a perfect world, I would like a live stream or something, but that's not gonna, I know myself. I need to just let go of technology, accept that I'm a grandma when it comes to technology and stay in my lane. But yes, I absolutely will be watching that. Thank you for that suggestion, Paula. Today, we're going to be reading. Today, we're going to be talking about a very problematic lie that they believe in Scientology. And basically the lie itself is that L. Ron Hubbard is essentially suggesting that we as humans, man is overall mostly good. Left alone, we are mostly good. Right? So the whole premise of what they're doing is this. The aim of Scientology, this is according to his own mouth, he said this out of his own mouth, is to put individuals in a situation where they can solve their own problems. Now, we're going to come into why this is an issue, guys. So just let me warm you up. Let me get you involved in what we're doing here. So why is the question? Why do they need to be putting individuals in a situation where they can solve their own problems? This is the aim of Scientology. Now, why is that? He was asked. He says, if you tell someone how to fix their problems, they may not want the help or it may not solve it. True. Here we go again with him being somebody who's good at taking a lot of truth and then just a bit of a lie in there. So instead, he says, put him in a position where he can find the solution, essentially. So he says, if you can put him in a position where he has increased intelligence, his reaction time was better, he's better at confronting life, he can identify the different factors in his life more easily, then he is in the position to solve his own problems. That's what he's suggesting. So pretty much we are in a state where we're in need of, yes guys, look, not only have I stapled my pages together today, but I've also highlighted all the bits that are relevant for the video, so you guys don't have to sit there for 30 seconds while I try to figure out where my notes are. Haven't we evolved in approximately 24 hours? So what he is saying is that, and this is where I already disagree with him, but we'll come to why I disagree with him in a second. So the person who says, now this is where we're getting into the crux of what I'm saying. The person who was mentioning this, so this is growing up in Scientology, the guy who grew up in Scientology since he was 4 years old, Adam, God bless that man. He says that Scientology believes in no single supreme being, but that we collectively as spiritual beings created this universe. Which there's so many fundamental issues with that, but we're not going to even get to that just yet. I just want you guys to take all this information into account as I build up into my point. So, according to L. Ron Hubbard, the more you handle man as a spiritual being, and that man is basically good with evil added, the more progress. So he's suggesting that we're basically good with evil added. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the lie that I'm talking about here, right here. We are basically good with evil added. Now, the reason why I have an issue with this is obviously, sorry guys, I've got my earphone in. Also, if you ever notice that I'm fiddling with my ear, I actually have an ear piercing in here. I don't know if you guys can see it. In the top of my ear. I should really, so I always fiddle with it in my videos. I'm like, it probably looks like I'm like, just, I don't know, doing whatever with my ear. So the point is, anyway, is that he is essentially saying that we are basically good with evil added. And that for me could not be further from the truth. Further. He goes on to say at some point, which it doesn't even matter where he says it because I remember that he said it, that as humans, if we were just left alone, we would do the right thing. We would do good, which is insane. But I'm gonna continue. Let me continue, and we'll build up to why I say this is the lie that I believe is the fundamental lie. Let's talk about beingness, because this is also something that I was told about when I went to my my personality test and then had my graph, analyzed. Actually, should I look at it? Because I can look at the section of the graph that talks about beingness. Yeah, let's do that while we're here, right? So beingness. Now, according to him, beingness is the ability of an individual to be able to live or handle the environment around him. Guys, follow with me. I have a method to my madness and a reason why I go through one thing and then another thing and then another thing. Okay, so this is my graph. I'm not going to show it to you guys because I'm not. But anyways, the first section of the graph talks about beingness. So this is you being evaluated on whether you're stable or dispersed, unstable, right? Whether you're happy or depressed, whether you're composed or nervous, whether you have certainty or uncertainty. Actually, the 3 points are composed, nervous, happy, depressed, stable, unstable. Beingness. He's highlighted those 3 points as your beingness, right? Yourself, how you feel, right? So that's what the guy at the thingy told me, the Oxford Capacity Analysis. According to L. Ron Hubbard, I'll just remind you guys again that the ability of an individual to be able to live or handle the environment around them. So based on that, what I'm understanding looking at this graph is that if you are stable or seen highly stable and highly and happy and composed, you would be considered to have a strong ability of the individual a strong ability of the individual to be able to live or handle the environment around them. Instead, if you are dispersed, distressed, or nervous, then the opposite would be true. Now, again, there's logic to that, right? There is logic. There is logic in that if you are feeling depressed and unstable and nervous, that there might be things that need to be dealt with in order for you to feel more like you can handle the environment around you. But let's continue. He was then asked, in Scientology, what's good and bad? And he then gives a very vague answer. He says, it's the same as normal, the same as what everybody else would say. So bearing in mind, we already know that this interview was scripted and whatever. This interview was scripted, whatever. He is very intelligent, because this is another fundamental lie I feel like that exists in the world. Because I always say this to people. People will be like, oh yeah, we all know what's right and wrong. We all have a set of moral values. And I'm like, actually, no, we don't. Because when we actually start to talk about things, we realize things are not black and white. There's a lot of gray. Because let me give you guys an example. You guys, we will talk about something like lying, right? Lying. Oh, should we lie or shouldn't we lie? Some people will say lying is never okay. Some people will say, oh, if it's only a white lie, if it's only something small, then it's fine, right? Guess what? And here's another version of some people who justify lying. Communists, Karl Marx. Because Karl Marx, the father of Marxism, the father of communism, the father of Marxism, which is where communism comes from. Yeah, guess what he says in his whole theory, that as communists, in part of a communist, if we were to have a communist government, one of the things that's to do with communism is they believe that it's justifiable to lie if it's for the greater good of others. So if we all had communist governments right now, they'd be more than happy to lie to us for the simple reasons of the simple fact that according to them, if it's for our betterment. And my question is, who then decides what our betterment is? That's why I'm not in favor of communism. Because do you guys see what I'm saying? So we start with lie. We start with white lie. Okay, yeah, maybe, yeah, lie. But then as soon as we go all the way to the extremes of communism, now we're actually thinking maybe we need to have a definite point as to which lying is, or we do or we don't lie, right? I give you guys another example, cheating, right? Because everybody has their different version of what they class as cheating. Some people class just talking to somebody of the opposite sex as cheating. Somebody class having their phone number and texting like twice a week as cheating. Some people class, you going to each other about each other's problems as cheating. Some people would class you touching in any way as cheating. Some people would class you talking to your ex who you've been with before as cheating. Somebody would class, just kissing as cheating. Somebody else doesn't class that as cheating. Somebody else would class, you know what I'm saying? The list goes on, right? Some people wouldn't class sex as cheating if it was while we were on a break. Some people wouldn't class sex as cheating if we were having an argument. Some people wouldn't even, you know what I'm saying? All of these things, they don't have finite points. And this to me is chaos. This is total and utter chaos. It's straight from the kingdom of darkness. It's straight from hell. Because in the kingdom of God, everything has its order. Everything has its place. Everything is straightforward and everything is black and white, right? There is no gray area. As soon as we just start to say, oh, we all have these moral values. No, we all look at it differently. Some people believe that we should have the death penalty for people who are predators, right? Some people think predators and murderers, right? So how do we decide? Some people, there shouldn't be the death penalty for anybody. Some people think that abortion is killing babies. Some people think it's just terminating pregnancy. Like, I don't know why we are actually so foolish to think that we actually can all just have this unwritten, unspecified set of moral values that we all adhere to. You know why? You know why these people and the kingdom of darkness does this? Some of you haven't heard me say this in a while. What is the one law of Satan? Do what thou wilt. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. And again, just like I said before, it all starts out sounding fine. It sounds fine when you say do whatever you want, when whatever you want is to go hiking in the mountains. Fantastic. When whatever you want to do is to get a job in TV, right? When whatever you want to do is to, I don't know, have children one day. When it becomes problematic is when do whatever you want becomes, if you see a woman that you're interested in sleeping with, go and take it from her no matter what she feels like. Because that same do whatever you want applies in that scenario. That's why I say to people, we can't just have this boundless law, this boundless society where we don't have boundaries. Boundaries are not limitations. They are protections, right? That's why we specify things. That's why God specifies things in the Bible. That's why even God says, I'm not even going to get into the scriptures about God and how he feels about people that hurt children. So I just want to say that when we have this airy fairy vagueness, it's genius, because it means anything he's saying is considered good and bad. And have we noticed how good and bad has also changes over time? Like over time, what we all considered as good and bad and all this stuff has actually changed, especially if you look at something like food. It's probably a perfect example of, if you were to go back 200 years, right? So it's a lot of the stuff that we consider as good. If you were to go and feed that to the people from 200 years ago, do you think they would class that as good food? So you guys, come on now. So, now this is the bit that really got me even more interested. And what makes it even more heinous. This whole men are generally good. Because he then goes on to say that Scientology is not for the insane. The ones having a hard time are the ones who deserve it. So he says the ones having a hard time are the ones who deserve it. He says that someone else should handle the insane. They have already failed. This is when I realized that Scientology is most definitely a religion, because this is how religious people be. We have whatever our set of good and bad is. We write off whoever else who doesn't fit the mold. That is so demonic. What do you mean the insane have already failed? How have they failed? And how is it that you're not classing the people who have not reached a higher level of whatever their ability to handle their environment, whatever? How are they not failing if they need your help? Because surely anybody that needs Scientology has failed, because if they hadn't failed, surely they would have it figured out, right? Or the insane, they're just at a certain scale. And then this is always my question for people, right? If you have a scale of what now becomes insane, what is the figure? What is the number? What is the number? I want to know what the number is. What is the number when we cross over from being sane to insane? Because this is what I love about the Lord. With God, there is no one that is too far for God. There is nothing that is there's no one that has done anything or been through anything that is too that would be too far for God to step in for them, right? That's what I love about God. So when I hear this type of stuff, I'm like, okay, you're saying the insane. At what point do we draw the line of insane? Again, it's vague. And I'm a scientist, guys. Just like this guy who went to do flipping chemistry and maths, I'm a scientist. So when you have a point of change, there has to be a finite point to which this change took place. That's why I was obsessing over Adam and Eve for like a year, because I'm a scientist. I'm like, God, when does entropy start? When does it start? When does it entropy? Because if entropy is proof that the universe is moving from a place of order to disorder, that it's one of the few proofs that we have that proves that time exists, right? Is entropy. And even the scientists themselves are saying entropy had to start at a certain point. I want to know, what was that point, and why at that point did we start moving from order to disorder? What was an order? What changed at that exact point? And that's why I've been obsessing over Adam and Eve this whole time, right? So as a scientist, at what point does somebody become insane? And probably it's vague, right? It's probably going to be another vague thing where, oh, if we decide that, we just know you're insane because I want to know, where's the point on the graph? Show me the point on the graph. Show me what the graph looks like for somebody that's insane. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't stand these things. Okay, I know this part is definitely not a part of what I was going to say. And yeah, so have I finished it? I might have finished all the points, because if I have, then I know what I need to say, what I'm going to say now. Yeah, so this whole, if you've been insane, people are good. If you leave people alone, they'll eventually... He's turning us into gods, guys. This is why I know this is straight from the kingdom of darkness. Once again, it's always the dethroning of God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. That is always the way you see it. Usually, most of the time, it's Jesus, right? And if they don't even need to have Jesus, then it goes on to be God and his position. It's always this removal of God from his number one position, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, moving them down from that position, right? And then in this case, we are gods. We created the universe somehow, right? Now, here's the thing. I want to ask you guys a very simple question. If we as humans, according to him, are mostly good with evil added, right? Which we've already deciphered in this video how he doesn't make any sense, and how what he's saying doesn't make any sense, right? And by the way, guys, I can't wait for this to be the foundation that we bounce off of when we start looking more into how this affects the world, because this is why when I look at the world, I think, how do people not fall for this stuff? But then I also think, oh wow, my hands are nice and cold. My face is so hot. And I also know and appreciate that, you know, obviously the journey that the Lord has me on has me deep diving into stuff like this, which is kind of unusual for people, but very normal for me and God. But yeah, this whole thing of making ourselves gods, why is it always we become the God? Everything to do with King Dark, you're the God, you're the God. Beyonce's a God, we're a God, you're your own God. Like, even with New Age, you're your own God. Everything is about making you your own God. Why? Because the enemy's trying to get us right back. It's the same exact conversation we're having with Satan now. It's the same exact conversation Adam and Eve were having with the snake in the garden. The Bible, the God is saying, eat from the tree of life, right? You can eat from the tree. He didn't even say to eat from the tree of life. The tree of life was just there available. But then the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Why was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil enticing to Eve? Sorry, forget Adam. Adam wasn't doing that, although he was listening to his wife, which he should have been able to, which is exactly why I'm just like, why? When it comes to this whole marriage thing, I just don't even want to talk about relationships anymore, because I'm actually done. I'm so done, right? Anyway, you know, when Eve was looking at the tree, she's like, oh, because what was the enticing thing? To become like God. But here's the thing, she was already like God. We were already made like God. We were already made in God's image, right? We were made in God's image, but we were made in God's image to have a relationship with God. That's what I'm trying to say. So then when people are saying all this stuff about, and so like when we're talking about, oh, man knows what he's doing, it's the same thing. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil, we haven't changed. The point of entropy still stands, and the entropy is still tumbling downhill, and we're still missing it because we're so busy thinking that we know what we're doing, because we're so busy making ourselves the freaking gods. We're making ourselves God, and we're ruining the whole world ourselves. And that's why I think that L. Ron Hubbard was so heinous, because I think there's a part of him that actually truly understood this. He grew up he was a son of a vicar. Was it him or was it Cecil Rhodes? I need to actually double check. Why do I keep getting these two mixed up? I think it was Cecil that was the son of a reverend. Yeah, it was Cecil that was the son of a reverend, right? He's a scientist. He knows all the science. He's gone around the world. He's seen how people do things. He's correctly stated, and this is what's heinous for me, because when he said this, I was like, this is exactly what I think. He said, man advanced to the degree, this is his conclusion of having traveled the world and observed people, man advanced to the degree to which he preserved spiritual integrity and values and remained honest and decent, right? Man was disintegrated and deteriorized. The more he abandoned these things, the more evil they did. So what I'm thinking, because I know about religions and stuff around the world, because obviously I pay attention to this stuff. He's going around the world and he's seeing, because I will tell you guys this point blank period and straight to the point right here, right now, and on this video, that I know for a fact a lot of the worlds right now, a lot of the places in the world that are living in certain types of conditions, it's because they have given themselves over to false gods. A lot of these cultures, a lot of these things that we see that people do that looks like it's just a part of what people do in X country, right? I won't call anybody out. It's because they have given themselves over to false gods. They've given themselves over to treachery. And for those of us in the Western world, it's hard to imagine, because the way we do it, it looks different. It looks a bit more shiny, a bit more civilized. It's a little bit more us going and buying crystals and us going and burning sage in our houses and us going to see psychics and us, doing all these new age stuff and doing yoga, which literally, the word yoga literally means yoke, which, by the way, I'm not trying to demonize people who do this stuff. I'm just talking about the origins of a lot of this stuff and how the kingdom of darkness likes to slip itself into things that we think are totally normal and innocent, right? In other places of the world, it's a lot more heinous. People actually sacrifice people, like actual full-blown killing sacrifices in certain countries that are not doing so well as far as economically, etc., and all these different things, and not doing so well as far as their people, right? And that's why I think a lot of the reasons why we're seeing so much tyranny going on in the Western world, because we've all given ourselves over to these other gods as well. So look at what has happened. We've given up on anything that's valuable. We've given up on moral values. We've given up on spiritual values, right? I'm in the United Kingdom right now. At a certain point, there was like 95% of people used to go to church. So the last time I heard this statistics was like back in 2017. At some point, 95% of people in England went to church. At that point, 5% of people went to church. It's not about going to church. Do you know how uncommon it is for people to even talk about God in England? I don't know if people know this in America. It's so uncommon, and it's weird to talk about God in England. And it's and that's what's insane as well, right? Look at the state of everything. Look at the state of the homes. Look at the state of the family. We've lost our values. We're justifying bad behaviors. Yes, that is going to take us right into success, into progress, like he's saying. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's why I have such an issue with this whole putting man in a God position, because we cannot be God. And when we are God, look around. Look around you right now. Look around you right now, wherever you are. Look outside your window. Look at the people you saw today. Look at the people you're going to see later. Look at the state of your own family. Look at the state of your own life. Look at the state of my life. Look at the state of the things I've told you about myself. Does this look like us as man, as gods, is the right thing? Does it look like us humans, right? We somehow, with the spirits inside of us, created this universe that we can't even understand, that we don't even know. It was only the year 2000, as I pointed out, that they even, for the first time, released the makeup of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, to the year 2000. 23 years later, people are being injected with mRNA, vaccines. mRNA, messenger ribonucleic acid, had to be, because of the same research that was done to understand DNA. Now we know what RNA is, right? Ribonucleic acid, which is to do with a lot of things, building up your proteins and all this stuff. And well, if people actually really understood what this stuff was, a lot of people would not be taking the stuff the government is telling everybody to take. But anyway, I digress. My point being here, him saying that men are mostly good. Were men mostly good when Eve was in the garden saying, oh yeah, I have this husband, I have this incredible place I get to live, I have God, and yet I just want to be like God. And that's all we ever do as humans. We always just want to make ourselves God. We want to have all these venomous fights for free rights. Like, I want to be able to do whatever I want to do. If I want to be a he today, a she tomorrow, a they the next day, and no one on Thursday, a fox on Friday, and a God on Saturday. Oh wait, I was already that the whole time, because I just want to be able to be whatever I want to be. I want anything to be anything and everything to be everything. And that's exactly a thought that comes straight from the pits of hell, because like I told you guys already, I'm going to say it again, that the only law of Satan is do whatever you want, do what thou wilt, do whatever you want, and see how that works out. See how that works out in your relationships. See how that works out in your friendships, right? How do you think you're going to keep a friendship if every time you're around your friend, you're telling them horrible things about them all the time? No, you're not. You don't get to just do whatever you want. No, no, that's not something that's going to be beneficial for society, is it? How would it be if when you go to work every day, you work your butt off and then your boss just decides, oh, I'm just going to pick and choose when I'm going to pay you. This week I'm paying you, the next week I'm not paying you. And then it's just the luck of the draw. And there's people in the world living in those types of things. There's people in the world living in those exact types of situations, like I'm talking about. We'll pay you when we feel like it, we won't when we won't. And why do we allow it? Because we allow this stuff because we're the ones who like to think of ourselves as gods. We don't put God first. We don't allow God because God's way of paying people. This is what I was thinking. I was thinking about how crazy this world is that we live in and how hard it is to get back up once you've been knocked down. And in the Bible, God specifically says somewhere, he's like, when somebody works for you, pay them that day. Like, pay them that day for the work they did that day. Because you don't know what they need that money for, and also they deserve the money for what they paid. Look at where we are today, where you have to sign up for a job. I remember the last job that I applied for. I applied in March. Wait, when did I apply? Yeah, I applied in like March. I started in like August. So that's like 5 months, right? We've normalized that it takes 3 months, 2 months, however many months to start a job. And so then even in that process, you have to change all these things over. And then your money gets taxed. And then it only gets sent to your bank account on a certain day, which means for most of the month, do you just see what I'm saying? Back in the days, God's thing was very simple. He was like, this is what he said in the Bible. He was like, no, you pay people that day, the money that they're owed that day. Simple. Imagine how the world would be if we were like that, guys. Imagine how different the world would be, how much better. But then no, we think we're God. We're going to be God. Yeah, like L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah, we don't really believe in the supreme God, although that's a lie anyway, because this is Xeno business, right? Where that's all the Thetans came from, which we're Thetans as well, right? And all this stuff, spiritual beings. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So whenever I hear that men are mostly good with evil added, no, we were made in God's image. And we chose evil. We chose to have evil. We chose the wages of sin is death. That's what the Bible says. We were where we needed to be. We were who we needed to be. And then we, on our own volition, not from somebody else adding it, on our own volition, stepped away from that. And us doing more of thinking that we know what we're doing is not going to get us any better. Just look around the world. That's why today's Halloween, and I was like, listen, nobody needs to dress up. Just if you want to see a horror show, if you want to see a horror story, if you want to see Halloween, just look around. Go out for a walk outside and you will see all the Halloween you need to see, because the world we live in is already scary enough. So yeah, so that's what I have to say about this. This is why I think this is one of the most heinous lies ever, that man is mostly good. And then you're adding in the other layer of this religious behaviors of, oh, and some people are insane, so we're above. So now we've brought back this, what do I like to call it? The high horse of self-righteousness. Oh, you now get to sit as better, because if those people are like that, they're insane. Like those people, they're not doing well with the treatment, but you're doing well with the treatment. It reminds me of a lot of, Christians today, where it's like, oh yeah, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so glad that I'm not a slave to sin. Like, I'm so glad that I don't go drinking. I'm so glad that I'm not promiscuous. I'm so glad. Like, those things I'm not saying are things to do that are worth, that people should be investing all of their energy into. I'm saying, who are you to have the right to look down on anybody because we're all on the same level, and you don't know their story, you don't know who they are, and it's actually none of your business. And in fact, as a Christian, all your job is to share the gospel of Jesus, which was that we have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, and that we need God, and that we need Jesus, and that we all need him always, yesterday, today, and forever, because we cannot do anything alone. Not even you on your high horse of self-righteousness, my friend. Not even you. Even that high horse that you're sitting on was created by God. You see what I'm saying? So, so that's just my whole thing with all of this. I'm just like, we're doing this thing again of looking down upon people, because who are the people we're looking down on? That's always my thing, because if we're going to be looking down on people, if there's anybody to be looking down on, it's the people looking down on others is the people we should be looking down on, because who gives you the right? We're all human beings, right? We all bleed the same. We've all been through stuff. We've all done good things. We've all done bad things. We're all humans. We're all humans. I don't know where we get this thing of in any level. I don't care how intelligent you are. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care what race you are, whatever. We're all human beings. We're all humans. That's the point. Let's draw the line there, right? Not none of this, oh, if you're insane, you've already failed. At what point? So what is the score? Like, again, guys, I'm a mathematician, I'm a scientist. What is the score? Like, if you do an exam and you fail an exam, right? There's like, if you get below this percentage, you fail. What is the score that they have to get? Be specific. Be very specific with those types of things, because you know what? God is very specific. Anyways, guys, you get the gist of what I'm saying here. This is just nuts to me. Like, I'm just so over this. Like, this whole thing, I can't wait to delve deeper. And you see this stuff that we're talking about in the core? This is why you guys over here on the winning team are very privileged, okay? Because people don't talk about this stuff like this. People look at a lot of the outer stuff, and we are going to cover a lot of the outer stuff. We're going to cover it all as much as possible. We're going to cover it, because now I'm realizing that this is one of the most important things I need to talk about on the internet. But this core stuff, this is what people don't necessarily talk about. Because when you hear the airy fairy, oh, we just want to help you to be able to fix your own problems and to give you the tools to overcome some of the traumas that you've come through. Sounds amazing. But when you start to look at the real fundamental layers of what these people are saying, right? Realistically, there's something so much more sinister going on here and very demonic. It's demonic. So anyways, guys, today has been day 4. I hope you've all enjoyed it. Please let me know your thoughts. Also, if anybody else does want to send me anything they recommend I should look at as regards to Scientology, please do. I really appreciate it, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Let me know what you're thinking about all of this, because I'd be so curious to know what you think about this whole like Scientology revelation Quran situation. It's so kind of random, but it's not at the same time, if you know what I mean. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, because if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless every single one of you, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.